All right, let's talk about last week. So you were in studio on your radio show last week. I know you were here
I'm in the studio out of my house.
From your house.
Yeah.
But now we're about a week. Actually, today's a week into camp. But what stood out from you from those first 2 days that you were there? Anybody, anything in particular?
Trent Taylor. I forgot how good he was. And, I remember a year ago when you and I first met, and I remember watching him, and he wore a different number then. I think he was 81.
Right.
So he was, but now his in and out, short area, two-way go quickness is uncommon. And I don't think anybody else on this team quite has that. Deebo's got his own skill set. Aiyuk's got his own skill set. Kendrick Bourne has his own skill set. Dante, but his sudden view like this. And he's got one of the greatest slot wide receivers in the history of the NFL to even further nuance that and coach that up in Wes Welker. So Trent Taylor is just, and your ability, he can win right away.
Yeah.
And the slot, it's a difficult thing. I mean, and again, it's not always slot with him. I got hat head, by the way, today. It's not always, an outside receiver, say it's Aiyuk outside of him in the slot. You could bunch him. You could stack him. He could be the outside guys. There's all kinds of things you can do. But in the prototype, if you put him in the slot, then it's hard to press both the outside receiver and the slot receiver. It's called a double press, where they're up tight, because if you do that, then the offense runs pick plays, and they can pick a guy off if they're that close. So normally it's levels. One guy's got to be back, and typically the slot guy gets a little bit off, or maybe a buzz linebacker, so he can win right away. George Kittle can win right away. So with him, it's just the ability to be able to win in short areas. So Taylor right away caught my eye. Aiyuk caught my eye right away, that he was really refined.
Yeah.
When I saw him in college, like I remember talking to you about Jerry Jeudy. Jerry Jeudy is an amazing route runner.
Yeah.
With Aiyuk, it was, I thought he had a little work to do on running routes, but watching him in camp, he has a veteran way about him. I don't know if it's the coaching he's getting right away, or like, for instance, he ran a corner post over route, which is a complicated route. So you bend it to 7 route initially to show the corner it's an out, then you're going to the post, and then there's a third move in there where you're running over across the whole field. That's a difficult route. He runs great over routes because he's so long, and he was able to make a catch on Jimmy Ward. So that was that. And then defensively, D Ford.
Oh, okay.
What did I tell you at the Super Bowl last year? I thought D Ford was the key, and he never quite got back to the D Ford we saw in Kansas City in 2018. We never saw the D Ford that I saw in Kansas City.
That Pro Bowl D Ford.
Yeah, I mean, just off the ball, lightning quick. He was never that guy here, never. Because he had a PRP injection on July 31st last year. So when I saw him, and I saw him right away, Keiana, he got down on his knees. And even to get into that 4-point before the snap, he got down on his knees, then he got up, but he was trying to get low. And I remember asking him, you don't do the 4-point much. You do a lot of 2-point stand up or 3-point. And he said, I could do it. I grew up in it. But really, the quads and the knees last year, I don't think he ever really got low rider like Kasarik wants them all to do. So could you imagine how much, they lost DeForest, obviously. I think Bosa's going to be better in his second year, just being in his second year. And he was a game wrecker as a rookie. But you get D Ford blasting coming off the ball with that first step quickness. I think it's Von Miller-like. Yeah. So that was my main takeaway, was Taylor. Wow, I forgot how good he was. Aiyuk for a rook's pretty good. And D Ford could be D Ford good again.
And now we're crossing our fingers, and we're hoping D Ford's hoping for a healthy D Ford. He said he feels great.
Yeah.
That's what he said coming into the season. Had a procedure earlier in the offseason, now coming back, and he hit the goal. His aim is to get back to that 2018 D Ford that we saw. And you talk about Trent Taylor. If you remember, last training camp, that's when Trent had that standout training camp.
Yeah.
Just continuing to build that rapport with Jimmy Garoppolo, and it looks like that rolled right over into this season. It just looks like it's seamless. It looks like he hasn't left the field at all. When you're seeing him out here, they're kind of in a little battle of who's Jimmy Garoppolo's favorite target. You know, they're already doing their little battles with the T-shirts. And now you see it. You saw it all this week. I mean, he had a beautiful diving catch yesterday on a pass from Garoppolo. So definitely excited to see more of Trent Taylor. But I have a fan question for you. And please forgive me because I saw your name. I just don't know how to say your name on Instagram.
Papa, P-A-P-A.
Papa, there we go.
Yeah.
But our fan wants to know, how would you compare where Brandon Aiyuk is right now to where Deebo Samuel was at this time last season, from what you've seen?
That's a good question.
Great question.
I would say he's further along as a route runner. Deebo was not a great route runner. And the way they used him in college was a lot of jet sweeps and smoke routes, now routes where you throw it short and he runs after a catch. A little like a running back, hybrid wide receiver. Now, as the year went on, and I can remember one specific route at home where he ran a dig route, which is like an 18-yard up and then a quick break in. And the way he created separation, it just dawned on me, wow, Deebo's getting a lot better as a route runner, but he was not a refined route runner. And with Aiyuk, I didn't know, because when I saw him at Arizona State, he always lined up on the left. And I asked Herm Edwards about it, and he said it was more just the way, formationally, the way we wanted to do it. So, and I saw him run. Kyle said he can play X, Z, F, any of the three. I didn't see him do that a lot of the tape. Kyle watched a lot more, and I thought he was an okay route runner, but not Jerry Jeudy. But watching him, and I'll watch him more today, obviously, and before the 3 weeks we have, I think he's a better route runner than Deebo. Does he have the yak and the rack, yards after catch, run after catch? Well, we can't tell because we don't have any preseason games. So Deebo was special at that. So I think they're similar in their ability to break tackles, make people miss in space. I mean, Deebo's got the right nickname. He's a bully.
Oh, yeah.
He just trucks people, and I think Aiyuk can clearly do that differently because Aiyuk's so long. I mean, Aiyuk had the bad 40 time, but he was hurt.
Yeah.
He had the core muscle. He's way faster than that. So I'm not saying he's going to beat Deebo because Deebo was really good last year and right away. But I think he's further along as a route runner right now than Deebo was a year ago at this time.
That was a really great question. Don't forget, you can drop your questions on Twitter using the hashtag 49ersCamp. It's your 49ers Live Look, and I'm joined by voice of the San Francisco 49ers, Greg Papa. Greg, feel free, if you want to turn the chair
Can
around.
I get up and walk around?
Let's
Okay.
go ahead and get a look at practice so we can see what everybody else is seeing.
Got
We
it,
can give
got it.
A little more of an accurate picture of what we're seeing here on the field today. But we're just talking about the wide receivers. And now we know about the injury potential. He can be without Deebo Samuel for a couple weeks. It's a potential. It's not a guarantee. It's a possibility he could be on hand by week one. Kyle Shanahan said he's not counting on it. We heard the news about Jalen Hurd. Richie James out of the mix. 49ers brought in three veteran players, three veteran wide receivers. How do you see this wide receiver group taking shape? But when I say that, a lot of times we forget about the names. I'm glad you brought them up. Trent Taylor, the Kendrick Bournes, the Dante Pettis. So what's your take on this receiver group?
I'm going to hold out on Dante because I think he's a great talent. But right now, just watching it from my perspective, and I was just here last week, so I haven't seen him in pads. I'm going to watch today. But I would say it depends on if you're in, and it's all based on formations in football. So if you're in 22 personnel, that's two backs, two tight ends. You only can have one wide receiver on the field. So it's a multiple of 5. You add the two numbers together, and that tells you how many wide receivers. So if you're in 22, you can only have one wide receiver. If you're in one wide receiver, then I think it would be Aiyuk or it'd be Kendrick for their ability to block. Now, Jennings could get in the mix there. That's more of a heavy formation, although you may want to take a shot out of that. If you're in 12 personnel, one back, two tight ends, or 21 personnel, two backs, one tight end, then the math says you have two wide receivers on the field. So then it would be Aiyuk and Bourne. That would be. And then if you're in 11 personnel, one back, one tight end, then we have 3 left from 5. We have 3 wide receivers on the field. Then that would bring in Trent Taylor. So I think, and it's, I don't know between Aiyuk and Bourne yet. Aiyuk's a rookie. So typically rookies have to earn it. But I think the real battle would be if we go three wides, then I think you could figure out who they would be. Dante could maybe make a push or someone I'm not looking at. Then who would be the two? Would it be Aiyuk and Bourne? Would it be Aiyuk and Taylor? Would it be Bourne and Taylor? So they're not in three wide receiver formation very much. The Rams do it all the time. They're in 11 all the time. The 49ers don't do that a lot. So there's a big difference in whether you're and we'll play fantasy football and go wide receiver 1 or WR2 or WR3. And they have packages for all this. So I think then there's a competition between 1, 2, and 3. But I would say just what I saw last week and how good Taylor looks and how good he would be in a 3 wide receiver package, that it would be Aiyuk, Bourne, Taylor in some combination.
I think we just got a serious lesson on football and math.
No, it's just
right
counting
now
to 5. It's all base
Greg,
10.
From Greg Papa. That was incredible. No, that's an incredible breakdown.